There's a version of you that doesn't exist yet. Stronger, sharper, unshakable, but between where you are now and where that version lives, there's a door. And most people refuse to open it, not because they can't, because they're afraid of what it will cost them. The door is ruthlessness, and on the other side of it is power. Machiavelli understood something most men spend their entire lives running from. That kindness without strength is just permission to be exploited. That mercy without discernment is weakness wearing a disguise. That if you refuse to be ruthless when the moment demands it, you don't become noble. You become a victim. This isn't about cruelty. It's about clarity. The ability to see the world as it is, not as you wish it were, and to act accordingly, without hesitation, without guilt, without the comfortable lies we tell ourselves to stay soft. But before we go deeper, you need to understand where this fear comes from, why ruthlessness has been painted as evil, and who benefits from keeping you weak. Let me tell you what happens when you avoid ruthlessness. You become negotiable. Your time, your energy, your boundaries, your future, all of it becomes something other people can bargain with. Because you've made yourself easy to take from, you've signaled to the world that you value being liked more than being respected. And the world doesn't reward that, it punishes it. Every single time. Think about the people in your life who walk over you, the ones who ask for more than they give, who disrespect your time, who drain your energy, who take and never stop taking. They didn't become that way by accident. You taught them by saying yes when you should have said no, by tolerating behavior you should have cut off immediately, by being understanding when you should have been unmovable. You thought you were being kind, but what you were really doing was training people to see you as weak. And here's what nobody tells you about weakness. It compounds. Every act of tolerance becomes precedent. Every boundary you fail to enforce becomes a boundary that doesn't exist. Every person you allow to disrespect you tells 10 others that you're available for disrespect. You become known, not as kind, not as understanding, but as someone who can be pushed around. And once that reputation is established, it's almost impossible to reverse. Because people don't believe in transformations. They believe in patterns. And the pattern you've shown them is compliance. From the moment you were a child, you were taught to be agreeable, to share, to compromise, to not make waves. Your parents told you to be nice. Your teachers rewarded you for following rules. Society praised you for being cooperative. And all of that served a purpose when you were young. But somewhere along the way, you were supposed to outgrow it. You were supposed to realize that the rules that keep children safe make adults weak, that the world beyond your childhood is not interested in fairness, that the people who succeed are not the ones who share nicely. They're the ones who take what they want and defend what they have. But most men never make that transition. They carry childhood morality into adult warfare, and they get destroyed. Because while you're trying to be fair, someone else is taking your opportunity. While you're trying to be understanding, someone else is setting the terms. While you're trying to be liked, someone else is building an empire. Machiavelli wrote The Prince because he watched good men lose to ruthless ones. Over and over again. He saw virtuous leaders overthrown by cunning ones. He saw honest men betrayed by strategic ones. He saw that the world is not a moral place, it's a strategic one. And the only question that matters is whether you're going to play the game as it is, or keep pretending it's something else. Society tells you that ruthlessness is evil, that it's something only villains possess. But that's a lie designed to keep you controllable, because the people who hold power understand something you don't. Ruthlessness isn't the opposite of morality. It's the prerequisite for protecting what matters. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn how not to be good, not because goodness is wrong, but because goodness without force is useless. A father who won't defend his family because violence offends him isn't virtuous. He's a coward. A leader who won't make hard decisions because he's afraid of being disliked isn't compassionate. He's incompetent. A man who won't cut off toxic people because it feels mean isn't loyal. He's just afraid of being alone. Ruthlessness is what allows you to protect the things you care about: your family, your mission, your dignity, your future. Without it, you're just hoping the world will be kind to you. And hope is not a strategy. Let me give you an example. There's a man who works at a company for 15 years. Loyal, dependable, never complains. He watches less qualified people get promoted around him. He stays silent when he's overlooked. He tells himself that hard work speaks for itself, that eventually his loyalty will be rewarded. Then one day, the company restructures, and he's let go. Not because he did anything wrong, but because he was easy to let go, because he never made himself indispensable, because he never demanded what he was worth. He spent 15 years being agreeable, and it cost him everything. That's what happens when you avoid ruthlessness. You become expendable, because you've never shown anyone that you're willing to fight for yourself. Ruthlessness is not random cruelty. It's not lashing out in anger. It's not punishing people for sport. Real ruthlessness is surgical. It's the ability to identify what needs to be done and do it without emotional interference, without guilt, without second guessing, without the paralysis that comes from overthinking. Let's break down what a ruthless decision actually looks like. First, there's recognition. You see a situation clearly. Someone is draining your energy. A relationship has become toxic. A business partner is holding you back. You see it, and you don't make excuses for it. Second, there's calculation. You assess what it will cost to act versus what it will cost to stay passive. You realize that short-term discomfort is better than long-term suffering. That ending something now is kinder than letting it die slowly. Third, there's execution. You do what needs to be done. You have the conversation. You end the relationship. You make the cut. And you don't soften it with apologies or explanations that give false hope. You're clear. You're final. You're done. And fourth, there's discipline. You don't go back. You don't second guess yourself. You don't let guilt pull you into a reconciliation that changes nothing. You trust the decision and move forward. This is what ruthlessness looks like in practice. It's not dramatic. It's not emotional. It's just a clear-eyed decision followed by immediate action. And the men who master this become unstoppable because they're not carrying dead weight. They're not trapped in situations that don't serve them. They're not negotiating with people who don't respect them. They're free. There's a moment that comes for every man. When someone crosses a line you didn't know you had. When you're betrayed by someone you trusted. When you realize that all the goodwill you extended has been mistaken for weakness. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can tell yourself it's okay, that people make mistakes, that you're above holding grudges, that being forgiving makes you better. Or you can accept the truth, that some people only learn through consequences, that forgiveness without boundaries is just an invitation to be hurt again, that the world doesn't care about your moral purity, it respects force. Most men choose the first option. They swallow the disrespect. They rationalize the betrayal. They go back to being accommodating, and they wonder why it keeps happening. The rare man chooses the second. He cuts the relationship. He enforces the boundary. He becomes unmovable. And suddenly, people treat him differently. Not because he became cruel, but because he stopped being available to those who didn't value him. I'll tell you about a man I knew. He had a business partner for 7 years. They started together, built something from nothing. But over time, the partner stopped contributing, stopped showing up. started taking credit for work he didn't do. And this man said nothing because they were friends, because he didn't want to create conflict, because he believed loyalty meant enduring anything. Until one day, he discovered the partner was negotiating with investors behind his back, planning to push him out of his own company. And in that moment, everything changed. He didn't yell, didn't argue, didn't try to reason with him. He just activated the clause in their contract that allowed him to buy out the partner, force the sale, cut him out completely. And when people asked why he was so ruthless, he said something I'll never forget. I wasn't ruthless. I was 7 years too late. That's the truth most men learn the hard way. Ruthlessness isn't something you do too much of. It's something you avoid until the cost becomes unbearable. There's a story Machiavelli tells about Cesare Borgia, a ruthless leader who conquered a region plagued by chaos. He installed a brutal governor to restore order. The governor was vicious, effective, feared, and once order was established, Borgia had him executed in the town square. The people saw Borgia as merciful. They loved him for removing the tyrant, but the tyrant was never the point. The point was control. Borgia understood that power requires calculation, not emotion, that mercy and cruelty are tools, not virtues, and that the leader who refuses to use both will lose to the one who does. You don't have to be a prince to apply this. Every time you let someone off the hook who deserves consequences, you're not being kind. You're teaching them that your boundaries don't matter. Every time you give someone a third, fourth, fifth chance, you're not being forgiving. You're telling them they can treat you however they want. Mercy has a place, but it must be strategic. It must be earned, not given freely to those who have shown they won't change. Think about the relationships in your life right now. How many of them are sustained by your willingness to tolerate things you shouldn't? How many people are still in your orbit because you keep giving them chances they haven't earned? How many times have you forgiven someone only to watch them do the same thing again? That's not mercy. That's self-destruction disguised as virtue. Real mercy is reserved for those who show remorse, who change their behavior, who earn back trust through action, not words. Everyone else is just testing how much they can get away with. And if you keep letting them get away with it, they'll never stop. The weak man has an excuse for everything. He avoids ruthlessness because it's not who he is. He tolerates disrespect because he's not confrontational. He lets opportunities slip because timing wasn't right. But underneath every excuse is the same thing. Fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of judgment. Fear of being seen as the bad guy. And that fear costs him everything. The weak man believes that if he's just kind enough, patient enough, understanding enough, the world will reward him. But the world doesn't work that way. The world rewards clarity. It rewards strength. It rewards men who know what they want and take it without apology. Machiavelli wrote that men are either to be caressed or destroyed. That middle ground, where you're neither fully committed to kindness nor to force, is where you lose. Because people don't respect half measures, they respect decisiveness. You can be generous with those who honor you and ruthless with those who don't, but you cannot be both to everyone. And here's the part that weak men never understand. Being ruthless doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person who values yourself. A person who refuses to be taken advantage of. A person who understands that your time, energy, and life are finite, and that wasting them on people who don't appreciate them is the real sin, not the act of cutting those people off. The weak man is so obsessed with how others perceive him that he sacrifices himself on the altar of their approval. He'll endure years of mistreatment just to avoid being called selfish. He'll stay in situations that destroy him just to avoid being seen as cold. He'll give until there's nothing left just to maintain the image of being a good person. And at the end of his life, he'll realize that nobody cared, that the people he bent over backward for have moved on, that the approval he chased was never real, and that he traded his one life for a reputation that didn't even survive him. Ruthlessness is a muscle, and like any muscle, it atrophies when you don't use it. Every time you avoid a difficult conversation, you make the next one harder. Every time you tolerate disrespect, you lower the standard for how people treat you. Every time you choose comfort over confrontation, you build a prison around yourself. And one day you wake up and realize you're surrounded by people who don't respect you, doing work that doesn't fulfill you, living a life that doesn't belong to you, because you were too afraid to be ruthless when it mattered. Machiavelli said it's better to be feared than loved, not because fear is preferable, but because fear is reliable. Love is conditional. It shifts. It fades. It's withdrawn the moment you stop being useful. But fear, real fear, the kind that comes from knowing someone will not tolerate being crossed, that's permanent. You don't need people to fear you in the sense of terror. You need them to know that you have limits, and that violating those limits has consequences. Think about the people you respect most. Not the ones you like, the ones you respect. Chances are they have clear boundaries. They don't tolerate disrespect. They don't make themselves endlessly available. They're not trying to please everyone. They have standards, and they enforce them. That's what creates respect, not niceness, not agreeableness, not flexibility, but the willingness to walk away from anything that doesn't meet your standard. And that requires ruthlessness, the discipline to say no, the strength to cut people off, the clarity to recognize when something is costing you more than it's worth. Most men never develop this muscle. They go through life bending, accommodating, compromising, and they call it maturity, but it's not maturity, it's surrender. There's a shift that happens when you embrace ruthlessness, not in how others see you, in how you see yourself. You stop waiting for permission. You stop seeking approval. You stop hoping that if you're just good enough, people will treat you right. You realize that respect is not given, it's commanded, and you start making decisions that reflect that. You cut people off without explanation. You walk away from situations that don't serve you. You say no without guilt. And at first it feels uncomfortable because you've spent your whole life being accommodating. Your identity has been built around being the helpful one, the understanding one, the one people can count on. And now you're dismantling that. You're becoming someone who disappoints people, who says no, who sets boundaries, who walks away, and it feels wrong. Like you're betraying who you are, but then something changes. People start treating you differently, not worse, better, because you've shown them where the line is, and they respect it. The people who truly value you don't leave. They adjust. They start respecting your time, your energy, your boundaries, and the people who were only around because you were easy to take from, they disappear. And you realize you don't miss them because they were never adding value. They were just filling space. This is the shift from being someone who accommodates the world to being someone the world accommodates. And it doesn't happen through force. It happens through ruthless self-respect, through the willingness to lose people who don't serve you, through the discipline to protect your energy like it's the most valuable resource you have. Because it is. Machiavelli understood human nature better than almost anyone who's ever lived. And one of his core insights was this: people are not inherently good or bad. They're inherently self-interested, and they will act in whatever way serves them best in the moment. Which means that if you want people to act right, you can't appeal to their morality. You have to control the incentives. You have to make it more beneficial to respect you than to cross you, more costly to betray you than to stay loyal, more dangerous to take from you than to give. This is how power works. Not through hope, not through trust, not through assuming the best in people, but through creating a structure where the best choice for them is the choice that serves you. Think about your relationships. The ones that work are the ones where both people benefit, where there's mutual respect, mutual value, mutual investment. The ones that don't work are the ones where the balance is off, where one person gives and the other takes, where one person has boundaries and the other ignores them. And here's what's important: that imbalance doesn't fix itself. It doesn't correct through communication or understanding or patience. It only corrects through consequences. When the person who's been taking realizes that the well has run dry, when the person who's been crossing boundaries hits a wall they can't cross, when the cost of their behavior finally exceeds the benefit, that's when change happens, not before. So if you're waiting for someone to change out of the goodness of their heart, you're going to be waiting forever. People change when they have to, not when you want them to. And your job is not to inspire that change through kindness, it's to force it through ruthlessness. We're taught that everyone deserves a second chance, that forgiveness is noble, that holding grudges is petty. And in some cases that's true, but in most cases it's just a way to keep you exploitable. Because the people who talk most about second chances are usually the ones who need them. And they need them because they keep doing the same things. Machiavelli wrote about this. He said that injuries should be done all at once, so that they're felt less strongly. But benefits should be given gradually, so that they're appreciated more fully. What does that mean in practice? It means that when you need to cut someone off, you do it completely. You don't half commit. You don't leave the door open. You don't give them chances to weasel back in. You remove them from your life in one decisive action. And you don't look back, because if you give them a second chance, you're not teaching them to do better. You're teaching them that your boundaries are negotiable. That if they just wait long enough, apologize convincingly enough, promise sincerely enough, you'll let them back in. And they'll do the same thing again. Because people don't change unless the cost of staying the same becomes unbearable. And if you keep giving them chances, you're removing that cost. You're making it easy for them to stay exactly as they are. I'm not saying people can't change, some can, some do. But that change has to happen on their own. Away from you. Your job is not to be their rehabilitation center. Your job is to protect yourself. And that means being ruthless about who gets access to you. One chance, maybe two if the relationship has deep history. But after that, you're not being compassionate by giving more chances. You're being foolish. The man who avoids ruthlessness leaves nothing behind. No impact, no legacy, no memory. Because he spent his life trying not to offend anyone, trying to keep everyone happy, trying to be liked, and in doing so, he became forgettable. Machiavelli understood that great men are not great because they were loved. They're great because they did what needed to be done, even when it was hard, even when it was unpopular, even when it cost them. History doesn't remember the accommodating, it remembers the decisive, the ones who took risks, who made bold moves, who refused to be controlled by fear of judgment. Think about the men you admire, the ones who built something significant, who changed their field, who left a mark. Were they nice? Maybe, maybe not. But they were definitely ruthless. They said no to opportunities that didn't align with their vision. They cut off people who were holding them back. They made enemies. They took stands. They refused to compromise on what mattered. And that's why they succeeded. Not in spite of their ruthlessness. Because of it. Because ruthlessness is what allows you to focus, to protect your time and energy for what actually matters, to build something significant, instead of spreading yourself thin trying to please everyone. The weak man dies without a trace, because he never committed fully to anything. He was always hedging, always keeping options open, always making sure he didn't burn bridges, and in the end, he built nothing, because building something real requires burning bridges. It requires saying, "This is what I'm doing, and I don't care who disagrees." It requires the willingness to be misunderstood, criticized, opposed, and most men can't handle that. So they play it safe, they stay small, and they wonder why their life feels meaningless. Respect is not something you ask for, it's something you architect through your actions, through your boundaries, through your consistency, and ruthlessness is the foundation of that architecture. Let me explain. When you enforce a boundary, you're doing two things. First, you're showing people where the line is, what you will and won't tolerate, what's acceptable and what's not. But second, and more importantly, you're showing them who you are. You're demonstrating that you value yourself, that you have standards, that you're not so desperate for connection that you'll accept mistreatment. And people register that, not consciously maybe, but they feel it. They understand that you're not someone who can be pushed around, and that changes how they interact with you. They become more careful, more respectful, more considerate, not because they fear you in some aggressive sense, but because they understand that you have limits, and that violating those limits means losing access to you. This is how respect is built, not through demands, not through aggression, not through trying to convince people you're worthy of respect, but through consistent enforcement of boundaries, through ruthless protection of your standards, through the willingness to walk away from anyone who doesn't meet them. And here's what's powerful about this. Once you establish this pattern, you don't have to enforce it as often, because people learn. They see what happens when someone crosses you. They see that you're serious, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. You become someone who's respected by default, not because you're constantly fighting for it, but because you've shown that disrespect is not tolerated. Every ruthless decision you make compounds. The first time you cut someone off, it's hard. You second-guess yourself. You wonder if you overreacted. You feel guilty, but then time passes, and you realize your life is better without them. That the energy they were draining is now available for things that matter. That the drama they were creating is gone. And the next time someone crosses a boundary, it's easier. You remember what happened last time. You remember that you survived, that you were fine, that it was the right call. And the decision comes faster, with less doubt, less guilt, less hesitation. And over time, this becomes your default. You stop tolerating things that don't serve you. You stop keeping people around out of obligation. You stop saying yes when you mean no. And your life transforms, not overnight, but gradually, through the compound effect of thousands of small, ruthless decisions, each one protecting your time, your energy, your peace. Each one reinforcing your standards, each one making you stronger. This is how you build an unshakable life, not through one dramatic change, but through consistent ruthlessness, through the daily practice of choosing yourself, of protecting what matters, of refusing to compromise on your standards. And the men who do this become unstoppable, not because they're smarter or more talented, but because they're not carrying dead weight. They're not wasting energy on people who don't appreciate it. They're not trapped in situations that drain them. They've ruthlessly optimized their life for what actually matters, and everything else has been cut away. There will come a moment when everything you've learned is tested, when someone you care about deeply crosses a line, when a relationship that means something to you becomes toxic, when you have to choose between your standards and your comfort. And in that moment, you'll understand what ruthlessness really costs. Because it's easy to be ruthless with people you don't care about. Easy to cut off strangers. Easy to walk away from situations that never mattered. But what about your oldest friend? What about your family? What about someone you love? That's the test. And most men fail it. They make exceptions. They compromise. They tell themselves this situation is different. And they're right. It is different. It hurts more. But the principle remains the same. Boundaries are only real if they apply to everyone. If you enforce them with strangers but not with people you love, you don't have boundaries. You have preferences. And preferences don't protect you. They just make you vulnerable in different ways. Machiavelli would tell you that this is where princes fall, not to their enemies, but to the people they trusted most. The advisors who betrayed them, the family members who schemed against them, the friends who sold them out because they made exceptions for people they cared about. They let sentiment override strategy, and it destroyed them. You don't have to be a prince for this to apply. Every man faces this test, and the ones who pass it understand something crucial, that loving someone doesn't mean tolerating everything, that caring about someone doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. That loyalty is a two-way street, and when it becomes one-way, it's not loyalty anymore. It's exploitation, even if the person doing it doesn't realize it. So here's the choice in front of you. You can keep being the version of yourself that avoids conflict, that prioritizes being liked over being respected, that hopes the world will be kind if you're just kind enough. Or you can accept what Machiavelli knew 500 years ago, that power is not given to the gentle, that respect is not won through accommodation, that if you refuse to be ruthless when ruthlessness is required, you inherit weakness, and weakness is a sentence to a life of being overlooked, underestimated, exploited, to relationships that drain you, work that doesn't fulfill you, opportunities that pass you by, to the slow, quiet death of living a life that isn't yours. Most men will choose comfort. They'll tell themselves that being ruthless isn't who they are, that they don't need power, that they're fine with where they are. But you're not most men, or you wouldn't still be here. You wouldn't have spent the last 30 minutes listening to this. You know something's missing. You feel it, the gap between who you are and who you could be. And that gap is ruthlessness, not the cartoon villain version, but the real thing. The discipline to protect what matters, the strength to walk away from what doesn't, the clarity to see the world as it is and act accordingly, without apology, without guilt, without the weight of other people's expectations. So what do you do now? You start small. You don't need to burn your entire life down. You just need to start enforcing boundaries you've been ignoring. Someone asks you for a favor that you don't want to do. Say no. Don't explain. Don't justify. Just no. Someone disrespects your time. Don't tolerate it. Call it out or walk away. A relationship that's been draining you for years, end it cleanly. Finally, each of these acts will feel uncomfortable. Your conditioning will scream at you that you're being selfish, that you're being cold, that you're being a bad person. Ignore it. That voice is the voice of weakness trying to keep you small. And every time you act ruthlessly in service of your standards, that voice gets quieter and you get stronger. Over time, ruthlessness becomes natural. It stops feeling like something you're forcing yourself to do, and starts feeling like the only rational response to a world that will take everything you give. You'll look back on the version of yourself that tolerated disrespect and wonder how you lived that way, how you let people treat you like that, how you stayed in situations that were slowly destroying you. And you'll be grateful, not for the pain, but for the person it forced you to become. The door is still there. Ruthlessness on one side, weakness on the other. You've been standing in front of it your whole life, wondering if you should open it, wondering what it will cost, But the real question isn't what it will cost, it's what it will cost you not to. How many more years will you spend being walked over? How many more people will take from you without giving back? How many more opportunities will slip through your fingers because you were too afraid to seize them? How much more of your life will you sacrifice trying to be someone everyone likes instead of someone everyone respects? Machiavelli's lesson is simple. The world does not reward the soft, it rewards the strong. And strength requires ruthlessness, not cruelty, not malice, not random acts of aggression, but the disciplined, strategic protection of what matters, the willingness to do what must be done, without hesitation, without apology, without the comfortable lies that keep you small. You already know what you need to do. You've known for a while. You've just been afraid to do it. Afraid of what people will think. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of who you'll become. But here's the truth. The person you'll become is the person you were always meant to be. Before the world taught you to be small, before you learned that safety comes from compliance, before you traded your power for approval, that version of you is still there, waiting, on the other side of the door. Open it, or spend the rest of your life wondering what was on the other side. The choice has always been yours, and it always will be.